Hello everyone, Corey here. It's been some time since I've made my last video. It's been about 2 weeks. Today we're going to go over section 9 out of our lovely book You by Charles F. Haanel. Before we get started, I want to go a little bit more over the mind. Last November I've shared Mental Chemistry with you by Charles F. Haanel. In this last several days I've been rereading it and going over it. To go over a little bit more about our mind, okay, we have the conscious mind and then there's the subconscious mind. Okay, the majority of our life is subconscious. It is said that 90% of our life is subconscious, because the subconscious part of ourselves is our seat of habit. And then there's the conscious part of ourselves, which is the self-aware portion of the mind, which you and me have, that a dog doesn't have. We're aware of things to a point where we have the ability to choose what we want to do. Because let's say a dog, for example, if the dog is hungry, it'll go and eat something. No matter what, it's going to look for something to eat. We have the ability to choose whether we want to eat or not. Okay, of course we're going to want to, because it's part of our selves of sustaining our own life, but we're given the power of choice and the power of that will to choose not to eat when we don't want to. And bringing back to the conscious and subconscious portions of our mind, it's the subconscious part of our mind is the same in kind and quality as the universal mind. Okay, it is responsible for giving us life and making sure that our organism is sustained and vitally alive, because the majority of us can't consciously make our hearts beat without thinking of whatever else we need to do. We consciously don't have that capacity, no matter how hard we try, because there's many things going on inside of ourselves that we're not even fully aware of until we actually learn about it. And just that portion alone, you could really see the difference between the conscious part of our minds and then the subconscious part of our mind. That the subconscious part of our mind is not conscious of itself. It's the same in kind of quality as everybody else, and the same in kind of quality of the universal mind. And it is this subconscious mind that we as individuals, as conscious beings, rely upon to keep ourselves, alive. I remember reading in The Science of Being Well by Wallace D. Wattles. We shared that book as well. It's been a couple months already, and he would talk about hunger and appetite and the difference between the two. That hunger is a subconscious phenomenon. Okay, it is your subconscious mind is telling you that you need to eat something so it could build new cell material to vitalize its life and growth. As to where appetite is something that you choose to eat out of habit. You're not hungry at all, but you want an apple. You decide to eat the apple anyway, even if your body's not asking for it. Okay, that's the difference between the hunger and appetite, and that's one function of your subconscious mind. Okay, it's responsible for the beating of your heart. It's responsible for the growth of your hair, your nails. It's responsible for the blood flow in your body, because you can't consciously, like I said already, you can't consciously keep all these things in mind while trying to do the things necessary in the external world. And I was going over that mental chemistry, and he gave a very good description that I had kind of forgotten about, and when I reread it, it really brought to a point in how the subconscious really works. And let's say, for example, my graduation cup, my You Did It cup. Okay, let's say this cup is full of water. Okay, and this pin is a spoon. Okay, and the water the water in the cup by itself is not moving. Okay, but as I take this spoon or this pin, okay, remember we're acting like it is a spoon. We put it in the water and then we start to move it around. Okay, and as we move it around within the water more and more, it starts to build up upon itself. It builds some momentum. It starts to move on its own. And that is one way that we are consciously impressing our subconscious mind all the time. We decide to go out and do something. It's hard the first time, okay, and then we do it again. It gets a little bit easier that time. Then we do it again, and it starts getting easier and easier until it becomes a habit, to where we don't need to really think about doing it anymore. It's just become a part of who we are, and then we decide to do something different. We say, hey, I don't want to go this way anymore. I want to start going somewhere else. All that momentum that was built, you let go of the spoon, and then the water's carrying it on. The same thing with you. Okay, like let's say you go to the gym for long periods of time and you build a habit of going, and then when you're not going, those days you get urges like, man, I need to go to the gym. I can't wait to go to the gym. Like, it's going to feel great after I get my workout in after all this time. That's an act of the subconscious acting upon your own consciousness, because you set all of those mind forces within yourself towards that direction, and you build all that momentum within yourself. And now, let's say you want to go somewhere different. Okay, you start to go the opposite way of what that flow of water was going before. You start to go a different direction to where you're used to going before. And of course, like with the spoon in the water, the spoon's going to encounter a lot of resistance, because now it's going against the tide of what it's used to going in. Okay? Likewise, when you try to do something new, okay? It's hard. There's a lot of resistance that you meet within yourself, because now you're taking all those energies and now you're moving it towards a different directions. And then as you move towards that direction more and more, again, you're just going to keep building that energy upon itself until it starts to carry you along. That is why it's very important to build healthy and constructive habits, because once you build those habits are going to continuously build you. Now that was what I just wanted to share with you guys really quick before we start going over this part of our book again. The last chapter we went over, it was sound vibrations, and an example of a sound vibration. Okay, as I speak, my Visuddha chakra, my throat, it's vibrating at a specific rate of vibration. It's vibrating at a certain frequency, and as I speak and create these vibrations, I am releasing that electromagnetic energy, within the ether, within the atmosphere, within this ethereal fluid from which all things proceed, or this mind stuff, if you will. Okay, the infinite cosmic mind that penetrates and permeates and is within all things, and it travels along this mind in the form of vibration by the principle of vibration, or in other words called the law of vibration. Okay, and as it's traveling along this ether, it gets picked up by other minds, other conscious beings, other people like you, for example. This camera is picking up on all the vibrations that are happening around it right now, and as it records it and saves it within its memory chip, and as I upload it, then it gets played out of the speaker, and then those speakers are creating the vibrations that have been recorded, and that is how you are able to hear the words that I am speaking, even if I'm not sitting in front of you as of this moment. Like as you're watching this video, like you hear everything I'm saying, but I could have made this video 5 years ago already, but you're still hearing what I am saying at this current spot, because this camera recorded the vibrations that were registered in ether at that moment in time. Okay, so I just wanted to share that really quick. It's been a while since I had read that book, and it's almost been a year actually. But today we're going to go over color vibrations and what they are. So with that being said, let us get started. So section 9. The varying velocities of light contain all the splendors of the universe. The velocities decrease from white light, which is 186,000 miles a second, through violet, indigo, blue, yellow, orange, and red, to black, 140 miles a second. So it goes from white light, which is 186,000 miles a second of vibrations, okay, to all the way down to black light, which ends at 140,000 miles a second. It is by varying movements of these velocities that the eye is affected by the sensations known as color. And any vibrations that aren't within this span is not, we can't see it. It goes into infrared or X-rays. The molecular constitution of a body determines the character and speed of the light vibrations it returns to the eye, and thus gives each body its own characteristic color. And like they say, no two people see the same thing. Hence the term color is used to denote the different appearances which matter presents to the eye, independent of its form. And we also need to bring up the point when it comes to that about those individuals who are known to be colorblind. My father, for instance, is colorblind. He doesn't see colors like we do. He sees them more of a grayish type. They don't pop out as much as somebody like me, who's not colorblind. Yeah, you get the point. Black is composed of equal parts of red, yellow, and blue. White is composed of 5 parts of red, 3 parts of yellow, and 8 parts of blue. Normal and natural gray is composed of white and black in equal proportions. Now, if I remember correctly, when I took art class, red, yellow, and blue were the 3 main colors of the color spectrum. And it's from all these colors and the combinations of each one that create all the other colors, such as black being composed of equal parts of red, yellow, and blue. The three primary colors, and then composed of 5 parts of red, 3 parts of yellow, and 8 parts of blue. It's still in use of the 3 primary colors. Normal or natural gray is composed of white and black in equal proportions. Black, therefore, means the result of all colors, while white signifies the reflections of all colors, and each color in turn is but a mode of motion, or the varying sensations which we experience when these vibrations impinge upon the optic nerve, the nerve of your eye. Color is, therefore, one of the manifestations of vibration, and all vibration manifests in corresponding color, the color being merely an indication of the occult chemical activity. So the color of my window shade or curtain, the color of my window curtain is maroon red, so it's vibrating at a very lower rate of vibration than this one, which is white, which is vibrating at a higher rate of vibration. And it's this rate of vibrations that allow us to see it in different chemical affinities, or in different chemical substances, or in other words, color. The color indicates not only the quality but the value of any chemical substance by reason of its own particular rate of vibration. And all objects of any particular color have that vibratory activity and vibratory value which pertain to that color. As the color is, so is the vibration. Wow. I remember talking to this earlier in my within the earlier chapters. It's already been about a month since I was reading the first part of this book, but color is the physical manifestation of what this thing is vibrating at. This thing is an inorganic mineral, okay? It's fixed, it's forever going to be like this, okay? But us as humans, we're made of organic minerals, and we're constantly going through the process of creation and recreation, and we can see within ourselves, when you see somebody who's energetic, you like see the light within them, you see you see it, you feel it, they're like glowing, their aura is just like the sun, as to where somebody who doesn't have as much energy, or is a little bit tired, or not very vibrating at any or as high of a rate of vibrations or frequency, they're more like not so shiny, you can say. They're not vibrating as much. Their energies don't feel as good as towards somebody who was in a happy frame of mind. Because just as the color is, so is the vibrations. Just as us and what we, physically appear to be, when it comes to our energy, it's from the rate of energy which we're mentally, vibrating within. I'm sure you guys are getting what I'm trying to get across when it comes to that. Nature's scale of vibration is very wide in its extent. It commences with sound, then merges with thermal heat waves, which would be heat. Well, thermal heat waves, yeah, thermal is the same as heat. And these vibrations climb the vibratory scale as the temperature increases, and merge into the vibrations of the radiant heat waves as the infrared, which reach up to the visible red of the light spectrum. The vibrations above the infrared are in here. We have a chart for us. So it says the vibrations above the infrared are, there's visible red, which vibrates at 15 trillions. Then there's orange, which vibrates at 20 trillions. Then yellow, which vibrates at 28 trillions. And then up to green, which is 35 trillions. Blue, which is 50 trillions. Indigo, 60 trillions. And then violet, which is 75 trillions. Okay, and you see here as it goes from red, which would be the lowest form of vibration, which is 15 trillions, all the way through the color spectrum, which would be 75 trillions, ending at violet. And this is very interesting, and this is one thing that we really need to keep in mind when it comes to this, because remember, these are the 7 colors of the rainbow, and these are the only 7 colors that we are able to see. And these are the 7 colors which are used to represent the 7 chakras within our own system. Okay, like my chakra beads, for example. Let me put this down really quick. Okay, so we have the red one right here, which is chakra number 1, which is the root chakra. That's known as Muladhara, and this is what's known to ground us to the earth, our physical body. And then next we have orange, which is the second bead right here, and that is what is responsible for our creative center. That's our sacral chakra. And then next we have yellow, which vibrates at the 25 trillions. And as you can see here, it's the 3rd chakra, and the bead used for that is the tiger's eye. And that one is our solar plexus chakra, which is known for our willpower. And then next we have green, which is the 4th chakra up in our system, which is Anahata, and that's for love and compassion. And then next we have blue, which is at 50 trillions. And after, you see we have the light blue right here, and this one is the Visuddha chakra. Okay, that's what's responsible for the communication. Okay, as like I was saying earlier, as we speak, I'm creating the sound vibrations within my Visuddha chakra, my throat, and it's, yeah, then you know the rest. Okay, next we have indigo, which vibrates at 60 trillion. Okay, then after that, the indigo is right here, and that one represents Ajna, okay, which is your 3rd eye, or your mind's eye. And then lastly, we have violet, which is this very last bead up here on top, and that one represents the Sahasrara chakra, which is your crown chakra, and that one's responsible for awareness. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so let us continue. The sensation of color, therefore, depends on the number of vibrations of light ether, just as the pitch of a note depends on the number of vibrations of the sounding body. The number of vibrations for each color is constant. Oh, wow. So it's just one vibration that's being emanated, and we're picking up on it differently from, we're able to hear and we're able to see, as we Let's say we hear something that's in a really deep pitch, that would be represented by the color red, because it's that slow vibrations, and we hear that deep pitch, and we would see it as more of a red color, because it's more on the lower end of that vibratory spectrum. Excuse me. The number of vibrations for color is constant. These 7 different rates of vibrations, which we know as colors, make up the visible light spectrum. Beyond these are a series of vibrations known as the ultraviolet. These extended up to those vibrations designated as radioactivity, of which radium and the X-rays are best known examples. This ends both the light spectrum and nature's vibratory scales, as far as present knowledge goes. As the quality and value of all forms of energy are due to their rates of vibration, it follows that color will indicate the quality of the vibratory energy. Color, like the diatonic scale, is divided into 7 distinct notes. Red has a stimulating effect. The disturbing influence of red is well illustrated by the expression, quote, painting the red town, end quote, indicating recklessness and destruction. Yellow is a nerve tonic. It is the climax of lumosity and symbolizes sunlight itself. It produces the feeling of joy and gaiety, which would be happiness. Green has a quieting and soothing effect. It is the color of nature and suggests life. It checks mental activity and suggests sleep. Blue suggests space, vastness. It is depressing and chilling. One who is continually in a blue environment will sooner or later have the, quote, blues, end quote. It is a melancholy color. Violet is magnetic and cooling. Each color has a distinct frequency or vibration due to the wavelengths. Red has a larger wavelength than blue, which is proportionally much shorter. That is why the quick notes of the drum arouse the emotions of the savage. They express in sound what the red expresses in color, kind of like we were just saying, while the neutral notes of the flute or horn have a quieting influence. They express in sound what blue expresses in color. These manifestations are recognized as they are perceived by the different nerves, for the mind of man translates the impressions of the world into facts of consciousness and thought by means of the nerves. All these varying rates of vibration differ only in directions, rate, and frequency, and are interpreted according to the different nerves or groups of nerves physically attuned to them or organized to select and respond to special manifestations of vibratory activity. And there's one thing I really want to add to that, because like we were just talking about the difference between the subconscious and the conscious mind, okay, these two aspects of the mind have their own nerve or centers of nerve within the body. For example, the subconscious mind, which is the same in kind of quality as the universal mind, and is responsible for the natural productions of keeping the body alive. Okay, the organs of the subconscious mind is the sympathetic nervous system and the solar plexus. Okay, and then there's the conscious mind, which makes decisions from moment to moment. Like the conscious mind is able to make decisions from moment to moment, and the organs of this mind would be the brain and the cerebral spinal system. Okay, because I remember mentioning it in many of my videos, because I learned in NASM class when I was going to school to get my personal training certificate, that the sympathetic nervous system responds to things before the cerebral spinal nervous system. Okay, the sympathetic nervous system, remember, being the system and organs of the subconscious mind, and the cerebral spinal nervous system being the organs of the conscious mind. Because when you consciously make the decision to pick up this "you did it" cup, your mind is using this instrument known as the brain and the cerebral spinal to make this movement possible, because it sends electrical signals all the way down from your brain, down your spinal column, to what's known as motor units within your skeletal muscular system. Okay, remember you have 3 different muscular systems. There's a smooth muscular system, the cardiac muscular system, and then the skeletal muscle system. The skeletal muscle system is the system of nerves in control of the conscious mind. Okay, the smooth muscle system and the cardiac muscle system is under the control of the subconscious mind. Okay, because your heart is a cardiac muscle, and you have no conscious, you don't consciously tell your heart to beat. Okay, it does it automatically. Okay, and what was I saying before? How the difference between the two. Okay, how you're when you consciously make the decision to grab this "you did it" cup. Okay, you're sending electrical signals all the way through your skeletal muscular system, the muscle system in control of your conscious mind, and they hit these things known as motor units, and they shock the motor units, which in turn shock the muscle. Okay, within the muscle you have these units known as sarcomeres, which is the function unit of the muscle, kind of like a neuron is the function unit of the nervous system. Okay, because the nervous system is nothing but a conglomerate of neurons. Okay, and then the muscle system is nothing but a conglomerate of sarcomeres, which has nerve endings attached to each one. Okay, and as you decide to move your fingers, you're shocking the muscle, which causes the muscle to contract and pull on your skeletal system. I know it's a lot. It's a lot of things to go over, a lot that we had learned, and one reason I really like to make these videos is because I can't really talk to people about things like this, because not a lot of people don't really like to hear it, so might as well record it, so when you come and you watch the video, because you're obviously interested in this type of information. It's good to know these things about ourselves and how we work. It brings just personal fulfillment to ourselves. Just knowing how that stuff works. At least it does to me anyway. Okay, let us continue. Color is both physical and psychological in the effects upon the mind. The chemical effect is a physical one. The psychological effect is a psychic one. The nervous system reflects its disturbances upon the mind, hence the sensations of pain or pleasure and the emotional states which accompany them. This is true of all the colors. I don't remember where I read it from, but there was an experiment they did on rats, and they had rats in a different cage with different colors surrounding each one. And the rat that was in the background of lighter colors was more happy than the rat who was in a background of dark colors. Kind of makes you want to change the color of my room around. Oh man, this before I moved into this room, my brother was living in here, so I didn't just decide to leave it as it was. But anyway, where were we? This is true of all the colors. Primary colors are radical, elemental, and fixed in their vibrations or wavelengths, and hence, when once the effects of the sensations which they produce on the mind are known, their uniformity can always be depended upon. Red as thermal and a stimulant, and blue as electrical and depressing, act uniformly on all forms of life. The spectrum analysis proves that the 7 colors of light are made up of the vibrations or wavelengths of mathematical exactness. As all vibratory activity expresses itself in form, color, and sound, it follows that the energy is always of that particular color, shade, or tint that belongs to that particular rate of vibrations. This is true not only of those colors, shades, and tints which are perceptible to visible light, or visible sight, but also of the finer forces of nature which transcend the physical senses. All energy of whatever quality is continually vibrating, and, by reason of this vibration, it assumes the color, shade, or tint belonging to that specific rate of vibrations. The primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Alright. All the other colors are combinations of these colors in certain proportions. Red is the physical color and is the color of all physical energy, which is why Muladhara, which grounds us to the physical earth, is represented by the color red, because it represents physical energy. And remember what we were reading in earlier chapters of this book, that, vibration manifests itself in form, because the form, it like absorbs that vibration, man, what is a simple and easy way to explain that? Because the more solid something is, the more vibration it's absorbing, and the more softer something is, the less vibration it's absorbing, and the easier it is for vibrations to travel along. Like water, for example, it's easier for sound to travel through water than it would be for sound to travel through a solid rock. Sometimes sound wouldn't even make it through solid rock, but you can hear sound in water from miles and miles away. That is how whales and dolphins and all those animals of the ocean are able to communicate with each other from miles and miles away, because since water isn't so solid, vibrations are able to travel at a longer distance. All energy of whatever quality is continually vibrating, and by reason of this vibration, it assumes the color, shade, or tint belonging to that specific rate of vibrations. Okay, we read that part. Okay, red is a physical color and is the color of all physical energy. Okay, the various shades of red have their various significations, but generally speaking, red is the physical color. Red is also the color of the will. Wherever the will is expressed, it assumes the red color, because will is the outflowing or manifestation principle, the extension or expression of the self into manifestations. Therefore, it must express itself in and through the physical. Consequently, it becomes red in color. Wow, that's very, very interesting. Because when we go over our wheels of life, we're going to go over the 7 chakras, okay? Because everything starts in the mind, up here from Sahasrara, which is the most subtle portion of energy, and as it moves down towards your Muladhara chakra, which is the chakra which grounds you to the physical being, it becomes more solid, more solidified. That is why it's important for us. That is why we take on the form of the things we image within our minds, because we are impressing it upon our own subconscious. We are impressing it upon in other words, you could probably say your Muladhara chakra, because that is the manifestation part of the vibratory frequencies, or in other words, representing the physical. The second primary color is blue, the color of emotions. All energy vibrating on the higher octave is either blue or red, according as it is positive or negative. Blue being the negative, feminine, or magnetic side of etheric matter, and red the positive, masculine, or radiant side. The bluer the matter may be, the more magnetic it is, while the redder it may be, the more electrical it is. Will and desire are thus the 2 poles of etheric matter, will being red, desire being blue. Wow, that's pretty interesting how that it's interesting how he categorizes these as that. Because if red is the masculine electrical manifestation principle that represents the will, and blue being the emotional desire, magnetic part of the will, or the magnetic part of you, because when these two when will and desire are mixed together, then boom, you go out and you make things happen, because you have to desire something to really get it done. You have to want to do it. Man, there's so much to learn. It's like it frustrates you, and at the same time it excites you, because there's that journey. Remember what success is. Success is a journey. It's not a destination as to where anything else. Life is a journey. Enjoy the journey, as hard as it can be sometimes. The third primary color is yellow, and is the color of the mental plane. Everything vibrating on the mental octave is yellow. The darker the yellow, the more gross and material is the character of the thought. The lighter it becomes, the more spiritual it is. The clearer the yellow is, the more purity of thought. The brighter the yellow, the more brilliancy of mind is indicated. Whoa. Yellow represents the mental plane, red represents the physical plane, and blue represents the emotional plane. I was about 3 weeks ago, I was listening to a biblical parable on audioenlightenment.com, and I believe it was the talents. And in the talents, he was talking about, how we were given 2 talents. Okay, there's the body, and then there's the emotions, and it is with these 2 that we create a mind body. And it was a very interesting concept what he was saying. But let's hold that thought for another time. If you're interested in learning it yourself, you can go on YouTube. There's audioenlightenment.com, and you can search it up under biblical parables, and it's called the talents. Okay, so the darker the yellow, the more gross and material is the character of the thought, because as it's darker, it's represented more on the manifestation plane, the material plane. And the lighter it becomes, the more spiritual it is. The clearer the yellow is, the more purity of thought. The brighter the yellow, the more brilliancy of mind is indicated. Yellow or orange symbolizes the highest function and power of our nature, and preeminently typify the, quote, scientific, end quote, temperament. White is really the combination of all the 7 colors. They are all found to unite in forming the white ray. The prism has the power of breaking up the white light into 7 prismatic rays. Therefore, white light is really the combinations of these rays. Pure white is unity. It is in fact the very essence of balance. It is the star of hope, which typifies cleanliness and symbolizes power. It is the language of knowledge, expression, and spirituality. Virgin white not only signifies cleanliness, but purity, and naturally the mind is consciously as well as unconsciously affected by it. Black is the reverse of white. White indicates the spirit, black indicates extreme materiality. Not materiality in the sense of physical substance, but materiality in the antithesis of spirit. Black indicates the disintegration which leads to annihilation. Black is representing, depressing, and suppressing. Black is repressing, depressing, and suppressing. It represents the negative conditions of gloom, fear, error, disease, ignorance, pessimism, and hopelessness. Black typifies the universal negative in which all color is hid, absorbed, and is emblematic of death, oblivion, and annihilation. Scarlet is the color of anger, the color which the astral body assumes when it is in an intensely angry conditions. Anger is really the forcible actions of the will, moving outward in a very positive manner. This is what produces the state of anger. The color of ether is pink, although its vibration is so intense that very few are able to come to see the vibrations, but ether is always pink. Crimson is a color of affection and human feeling. It is the self-relative color, because our affection is given to persons on account of their particular relation to us. Affection is purely a physical and animal feeling. Rose of the color of life, and as we approach the physical, it is more red. As life is brought under the influence of the emotions, it takes on whatever color is found, blended with this red or rose color. That's very interesting how, aside from all the colors, I want to talk about affection. How he says affection is purely a physical and animal feeling. Because when you really think about it, it is. Because, we're only differentiated between man and woman by this physical manifestation, this body that we are living in. We're affected by the hormones, we're affected by all these chemicals happening within our cells, making us feel certain ways. But as minds, as psychic subtle bodies, we're both male and female, because the mind has no gender. The mind simply is intelligence, and intelligence that is living within this body. That's why mind and body, these two halves that form the complete whole. And affection is part of the body, because everybody wants affection, because it's just as beings, we want a companion there. It's part of our animal nature, not exactly our mind, the nature of our intelligence. Indigo blue is the color of occultism. The dark indigo partakes of the element of sorcery, while the pure indigo is emblematic of pure occultism. Violet is a color of magic, because it is so far above the ordinary rate of vibration that it has the power of neutralizing and even transforming those rates into its own, thus giving the power of alchemy. Purple, being blue mixed with red, the positive aspect of emotions, is a color of mastership and indicates the master. Lavender, which is a great deal of white mixed with purple, indicates the master on the astral plane, but merging towards the spiritual. I'm not going to lie, I don't exactly understand all of these different aspects and colors that he is explaining it on. He explains it in a general term, and he's explaining what these represent. But where did he even find all these representations from? That is also something that we need to find out ourselves and be able to share it with you guys. Because who knows, maybe all this is a part of sacred geometry, and colors and shapes, and how, for those of you who don't know what sacred geometry is the mathematics of nature, and the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio and all that. But we'll all that is saved for another time, because we're doing our best to stay focused on what's happening in front of us now. Okay, so green is the color of action. It is expressed by minor chords, and is the positive expression in the inner being, as expressed through actions. Unselfish action which is purely altruistic in its character, which has no relation whatever to the individual, is a clear emerald green, and the nearer this approaches to the spiritual, the paler it becomes, meaning the more white it becomes. Brown is, in a sense, a mystical color, in that it indicates the presence of white, red, and black in certain combinations. As the shade is, so will its influence be. As all the colors are included in the white, so is all matter built up of simpler or elementary substances, and all changes are due to distribution and aggregation of the elementary matter. Motion is the primary cause which gives rise to color and all other phenomena in existence. So if he said right now, if motion is what gives rise to color, then all these different colors that he is expressing, what if they're just, expression of a certain vibrations within that specific motion? I mean, it's obvious, we just read that that's what it is saying, but exactly I guess the question I just have is, how exactly did he come to the conclusion that, or find out that that's what these colors represent? Motion is the primary cause which gives rise to color and all other phenomena in existence. In order to trace the origin and progress of any effect, visible or invisible, the aim must be to determine the movement or movements which brought the phenomena into existence. Okay. The principle of vibration permeates the whole science of radiation or motion, and may be stated in a general way by saying that the body absorbs waves which are of the same period as those which it emits when it is itself in vibration. The essential condition is therefore that the receiver shall be in the same key or wavelength as the sender or origin of the movement. The original wave gives energy to the wave upon which it impinges, while one is gaining energy, the other is losing it, and this continues until the process of absorption is complete. This principle applies to light, heat, sound, color, or energy of any kind, where it is distributed by the process of radiation. And that is the end of chapter 9, or section 9, from you, and it's ending with a quote by Boker's Ivory Carver, and he says, "Silently sat the artist alone, carving a Christ from the ivory bone. Little by little, with toil and pain, he won his way through the sightless grain that held and yet hid the thing he sought, till the work stood up in growing thought." Now that is, like I said, the end of section 9, and let's keep studying all what he is saying, because I know every time I reread through something, I get something out of it that I had missed before, and I also want to add to that something I had heard somebody say. They said that when you read a book and you get things out of it, okay, the second time you read the book you end up getting more out of it. Okay, what has happened? The information in the book is still the same. The book hasn't changed at all, but why is it that you missed it before as to where you had it now? And the reason being is simply because you've changed. You're different. Okay, you're more mature in your mind. You understand things a little bit better. And as you continue to read, because I started reading this book when I was right out of high school, 19 years old. I didn't, I understood a little bit what was in it, but not entirely all of it. And the older I get, the more I realize how important this information really is. And I guess that's because the older I get, the more I actually truly are starting to understand what exactly is being shared by Charles in this information. Like I said, let's go ahead and end it right there. That's the end of section 9. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and I'll see you